Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We're gonna be picking up where we left off. Trial time. Cross examination. It was our wedding anniversary and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor. Then the other scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Rolly and I both saw him as clear as day. And the other guy just didn't say anything. Oh dear. This policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsume at the scene. If the testimony is true, the alternative course of events that you established in the summation examination will be quashed. It's definitely a fact, because that alternative was never viable in the first place. Oh, I know. But I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. I thank the Lord for that. Gosh, the life of a London Barbie sounds very hard indeed. Indeed. However, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon. What do you mean by that? My learned friend, the witnesses saw the face of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under oath that it was without doubt the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume. And one of these witnesses is a policeman nonetheless, so you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure. Except that the man's so tired, his wife has to do all the talking. Yes, my lord. Alright, I don't see any immediate contradictions, so we're gonna have to push.
Hold it!
No time to change after work, you say. Are you also a member of the police, Mrs. Beat? Oh no, sadly not. It's a job for strapping young men only. Women, children, and the elderly can't even apply. Well, I think you can probably see why children and the elderly can't do the job, can't you? I think Rolly looks ever so handsome in his uniform. It suits you down to the ground, doesn't it, darling? What? I just finished my beat. Pat and I were heading back to the station. I was actually planning on getting changed there. Is he talking in his sleep? This is creepy. Oh no, Rolly. I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes, I don't recognize you when I see you in plain clothes. Oh dear. That doesn't seem healthy. That's right, sir, yes. Although I was fit to drop, to be honest. After spending the whole day on my feet. The policing is my life, sir. As long as I'm the proud owner of this, I'll serve my city and my queen to the end. What's that now? A warrant card, sir. Proof that I'm a London copper. It has the noble found and principles of the force written on it as a reminder for all us policemen of a sworn duty. To patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. Sir, and for such a noble cause I'd cover 20 miles every single day without fail and without a grumble. Because I know that the plodding of my boots is all Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secure. So, fighting crime doesn't appear to come into it then. But sir, just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mr. Speed puts up with a lot of being married to a bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Oh, what a charming couple. Their young love is such a joy to behold. If a little over the top, perhaps. Yeah, the kind of cute.
Hold it!
Two silhouettes That's right. They were coming towards us, walking up Briar Road in the opposite direction. There was a rather plump figure followed by a scrawny, thin-looking man. That does sound exactly like the victim as pictured in this print, and like Mr. Natsume. Yes, unfortunately, it does. I was certain that at the time, there was nobody else nearby. Oh yes, quite certain. It was dark, but there are streetlights on Briar Road, you see. There was nobody else around at all. Isn't that right, my darling? Yes, that's right. Of course, there was a light fog on the ground. The Briar Road is dead straight and you could see a fairly long way down the pavement. And then there's the street lighting as well. I didn't see any other pedestrians. Before sleep takes a firm hold, your answer please, Mr. Beat. Are you quite sure of what you've just said? Yes, sir. As a couple spends all day, every day, keeping watch on the streets outside to it, sir. I'm as sure as my love for Patricia is true. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. You're still maintaining there was no one else around other than the victim and the attacker. It's starting to seem like that must be how it really happened. It's beginning to seem like there's nowhere to run. Well, that didn't stop Mr. Natsume, did it? He fled the scene all too convincingly. Alright. Push.
Hold it!
Scattered something. What do you mean by that? Oh, well, I couldn't quite make out what it was at the time. But then when we got closer, we realized what it was. Didn't we, darling? Well, oh yes, that's right. Those some old books. I see. Yes, sir. The culprit had dropped above them, or with the victim lay on the pavement. That rotten Japanese man did what he did that when he did the deed.
Hold it!
Let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker. But we saw him! It was the man in the dock without question, sir. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snub nose. Everything! Any more insults you want to throw in? That's right! He looked down at that poor defenseless woman with those terrifying, intense eyes. And then suddenly threw his books onto the pavement and ran away! I see. This is tough. They seem as though they're telling the truth here. May I remind the court that this unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife. Now please, continue. Yes, sir!
Hold it!
Was it your husband who went to fetch help? No, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I am the proud wife of one after all. Isn't that right, my darling? Well? Oh, yes, that's right. I asked Mrs. Beat to go. I was off duty by that point. But Bobby's never truly off duty, of course, so I felt obliged to stay and guard the scene. That's right, I sent Patricia, you see. I told her where to find the right police box. Forgive my ignorance, but what do you mean exactly by the right police box? Depends on the crime's location, you see, as to who deals with it. But the woman who stabbed wasn't actually on my beat. So I took Patricia to wait to the police box where the beat the incident fell under, so she could go and report it. I ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help from the Bobby on duty. There is nothing more potent than a young couple in love working together, you know? Thanks to your swift response, the case is quickly resolved. The actions, two model citizens. Oh, please. You're making us blush, isn't he, darling? Yes, sir. What Patricia said, sir. Let's move on, shall we?
Hold it!
You want me one of the disputers? But surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you? We absolutely could. Us Londoners have exceptional eyesight, I'll have you know. Right. The light from the street lamps was more than enough. And my husband already told you that the fog was only light, didn't he? Yes, and what of the fog? Oh, it is. When it's thick, you can't even see the hand at the end of your own arm. Yes, alright, I take your point. Now, could you stop shaking your husband about? The constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. That's why we can tell you for sure and certain that it was a little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling? Yes. It was the accused and no mistake. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snub nose... Unmistakable, sir! As far as this couple's testimony is concerned, there can't be any question. It was Soseki-san they saw running away from the scene of the crime. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony. What do you think, Miss Naruhodo? Well, I hate to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. Beat saw what they saw. This did not to me running away from the scene on Briar Road that day. Yes, I feel the same. So if that's true, where does it leave us? The members of the jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict after this testimony. Oh no! Then what do we do? If Kazuma-sama were here... What are you trying to say? I think he would try to find a contradiction somewhere else within your testimony. What do you mean, somewhere else? Your statement about seeing Mr. Natsume is unequivocal. Calling that into question won't help. But if you could identify some other part of your testimony which appears to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them, to make the jury doubt if the pair's memory of the day is accurate. Oh, right. Put simply, we must focus on finding a discrepancy in these statements somewhere. If we don't, I'm afraid the trial may reach an early and unfavorable conclusion. Why do I always seem to be so up against it? Okay. Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something? Oh, yes, of course. What is it? Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we've told you, so... It seems like you don't believe our testimony. Is that right, is it? Well, out with it. What? No. Oh no, it's really not that at all. My husband's a policeman, remember? And I know what I saw. I remember every last detail, everything. Like... Oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped? I could tell you the names of every single one I could. Every single one. And you dare to question how reliable my testimony is? No, it won't do at all. That Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of. Even if I decide to forgive him for insulting us, don't think for a minute that Rolly will. I really didn't mean to cause offense. Please, put your husband's fist down. Please, you. Oh, thank you, my lord. That will settle things nicely. Wouldn't it, darling? I guess we had to press every statement? Probably. Alright, you can tell you the names of the 4 books he dropped on the scene, and that's where the contradiction is probably going to be coming in.
Hold it!
Yes, we know that there were books dropped at the scene of the crime, as you say. It was purchased by the accused at a nearby second-hand bookshop on the day in question. After I'd been to the police box for help, I decided to have a good look over the area for good measure. I'm a proud policeman's wife, after all. I did it for Rolly. And what was your husband doing at the time? Oh, he was lying face down in the snow, getting some well-deserved rest. He works ever so hard, you know. Ever so hard. Don't you, my darling? Interesting way of guarding the scene of the crime. Well, this is easy to begin to call attention about the recollection. I think we should go to reconstruct the title of the books you scene. I'd be happy to. Now, are you all listening? There was the picture of Missy as somebody or other, and what's its yearnings? Then there was, a mew for someone, and the last one was definitely the thingamagee something. You see? Yes, I see there are one or two holes in your memory. Oh well, they were along those lines, I'm quite sure. There were indeed books found at the scene with titles along those lines, as he put it. Well, what did I tell you? So I think it's very mean the way you've been implying that my testimony can't be trusted. Don't you agree, darling? Anyone who upsets my Patricia will have me to answer to. He pulled out his revolver. Terrifying. Yes, she really is. Okay. Well, I guess the key thing here is that he only borrowed 3 books, not 4. At least I'm pretty sure. Yep, he only borrowed 3.
Objection!
Objection. So, you're saying that there were 4 books? That's right, I remember all of them. The picture of Missy as somebody, what's it yearnings, a meal for someone, and the thingamagee something. I'm sorry, Mrs. Beat. But there is a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours. Oh no! What flaw? Simply that, at the scene of the crime, there were only 3 books, not 4. What? This is the receipt from the bookshop where the defendant bought his books. Your books? Yes, and it details Mr. Natsume's purchases that day. But as you can see, only 3 books are listed. Only 3? But no, there can't be. I remember seeing them. There were 4 books, I tell you. 4 dirty old books. Oh really? Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. As you can clearly see from this evidence as well, there are only 3 books. But I just don't believe it. I saw them there, I swear it, I saw them! No, madame, I'm afraid your powers of observation cannot be relied upon. So it cannot be denied that though you say it was the defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken. Oh no. Oh no, no. No!
Objection!
It's plainly evident that it is your powers of deduction that cannot be relied upon, my learned Nipponese friend. What? What cannot be denied is that these 2 witnesses saw the accused running from the scene. A fact that you know very well you have no hope of disproving. Ah. So you've striven to avert attention from that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Would that be fair? Sees right through me. But your plan is somewhat recoiled against you. What are you talking about? It's quite simple. Let me explain to the toast. To the policeman's wife and her entirely accurate testimony. In every respect. Oh! You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene of Briar Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found.
Objection!
But what about the photographic print? The book's behind it, isn't it? It only shows 3 books. Quite right, only 3 can be seen. In that print. That print? You mean to say? Allow me to present another. One that shows the victim's hand. I don't believe it. It's the fourth book. As you will observe, the fourth book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso. No. No! There, you see? Look at that. Look. Yes. It's just like I said, isn't it, my darling? Yes, sir. Patricia's always right, sir. Let us study the receipt for the books purchased by the accused on the day in question. Mrs. Beat, the titles once again, if you please. Oh yes, of course. The picture of Monsieur somebody or other. The picture of Monsieur Lecour. What's it, yearnings? Canterbury yearnings. A mew for someone. A mew for Gabriel, in fact. As the court has just heard, the witness remembers the book's titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details. Mrs. Beat's powers of recollection can only be described as exceptional. Did you hear that, Rowley? The gentleman paid me a compliment. Yes, sir. Flawless, sir. Patricia is flawless. But, there are only 3 books on the receipt, and Mrs. Beat mentioned 4. There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly the 4th book is that which is shown in this photographic print. It's not odd at all, my lord. As the photograph clearly shows, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim. The victim was holding her own book. I wonder what became of that 4th book. Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence. Yes, my pleasure, my lord. Alright. We have some new evidence to look over. The 4th book. What will we find in it? Alright, let's CSI this thing. Aha! The Lion's Pride. Yeah, The Lion King? Sounds familiar. The Lion King, I guess? The Lying Bride. The Lion's Pride. The Lying Bride. If that's a coincidence, then... If that's a coincidence, then, well, haha. But I have a feeling. Yeah, also a burn on the back. This book. It came from the upper floor of that one place or something or other. Interesting. Oh, look at this! The book has been badly burnt. You're right. You'll never be able to read it in this state, especially not the latter pages. What a terrible waste. Judging from the scorched edges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently. A book. Recently damaged by fire. Why does that seem to raise a red flag with me? Let me see. It's a book entitled The Lion's Pride. I'm afraid I don't know any English literature at all, so it wouldn't be something I've heard. Wait a minute. The Lion's Pride? That's strange. I think I have heard of a book by that name before, and very recently too. Is the title I recognize too, Mr. Naruhodo? Interesting. And yeah, she's holding it where the place is burned. Interesting. The prosecution rests. I have nothing further to add. What? You seem surprised, my learned friend, but your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. the spurious longer route to the accused logics that you tried to establish in your summation examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in their cross-examination. Futile? I walked right into this, didn't I? You see, everything you've said is true. Isn't that right, my darling? Yes, Pat! Marry me, Pat! So, perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions. Should the court waste any more time on this Nipponese travesty? Or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? You have heard all of the witnesses and seen all of the evidence. This trial has run its course. Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid we are in a terribly precarious position. I know, but if I fight back in the wrong way now, I could very well just make matters worse. Think, Yunosuke, think. What do you do now? Objection!
Objection!
I'm not done yet. No, my learned friend. It's over. That last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense, and you failed. The die has been cast. There is no more room for debate. Well, it might be over as far as you're concerned, but... I can't think of what to say. If I may, Lord Benzeeks, it seems somewhat boorish to close down the debate at this point. Your insignificant little eastern arm must be in lawless hole indeed, for a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this. Oh. I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. So you will have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential and her opinions invaluable. Mr. Naruhodo. Go ahead, Mr. Sato. Please. Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further? Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished. I see. I don't believe this new evidence was for examination, do you? Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think? It's just possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. So we must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible, which we already did because we are proactive. Yes, I understand. And thank you, Mr. Sato. This is it. Susato-san has managed to win us one last chance here. I can't let it go to waste. The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord.
Take that!
The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. The fourth book found in the victim's hand.
Objection!
We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know. Ah! Oh, yes, my lord. It's, Naruhodo. I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence. Which means, we may very well be on the right track. Yes, I think you might be right.
Got it!
I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question. How do you... The curses? It's a bit of a curse. So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It is undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing.
Objection!
Unnatural, you say. And what of it, my Nipponi's friend? Oh, were I to concede the point, if it bears no relation to the case, there is nothing to discuss. So, should you wish to assert that this fire damage is some veiled clue as to what happened that day? Pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book hide? Charred book. There is just one possibility here, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance, certainly, but worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory. Its owner. My lord, the burn on the back of the book reveals a startling truth. About the book's owner. But we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping it in her hand as she fell to the floor, after all. It's obviously hers. The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand has yet to be answered. However, as to the questions of who the book really belongs to and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers. Very well. I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may well burn you if your little gamble goes awry.
Take that!
The answer is that the book belongs to the couple who own the house where the defendant has his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garadab. The landlords. And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know. Of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Mrs. Garadab herself. Oh my goodness, me! Yeah, right, this jury is highly coincidental. Dude, like, how many of these are like relevant people? Like 3 people? Half the jury has some relation to the case. That's silly. A little silly. Also, hey, I guess the Garadabs are involved in a crime after all. Something Sherlock Holmes canon. I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mrs. Garadab's wife, his maid. Things would be so much easier if we would just drop the pretense. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garadab's house? I would never presume to know all the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused landlady, you say. You implicate this hard-working member of the public. You besmirch her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable.
Objection!
This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed on the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mr. Garadab's house. And I'm going to enter this hearsay into evidence without establishing any prior... What was the word? I forgot the word. There's a term for like setting the groundwork for introducing evidence. I forget what it is. Never mind. A fire, my lord. Rare to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. Worst of it is, I lost my favorite. Book called The Lion's Pride. The Lion's Pride. My lord, the race entire is the subject of this event. Oh dear me.
Objection!
This is risen. All you told the court is that a book by the same name was involved in the fire, in which case it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. And entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself to the scene of the crime. Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was martial discord. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Garrett was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garrett even amid the flames. Oh, how awful. I can't even imagine being so horrid to the one you love. Can you, Rolly? Absolutely not, sir. Patricia would never raise a finger against me, sir. I'd all my favorite old novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in smoke. Then the wife started hurling things at me. There was I, back up against the window, under heavy enemy fire, incendiary books incoming 10 to the dozen. Was she killed by a thrown knife from the top floor? Is that it? Is that... I mean, not killed. Was she hurt by that? Really? Is that what happened? Because that is ridiculous. Jesus, listen. I know I could show to the window and land in the country and see the crime.
Objection!
No, a thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted the very evening of the incident, and there is no report of the Garrett House window pane being broken. That's quite true. We also saw no sign of broken glass when we visited the Garrett household. Weirder things have happened in Ace Attorney. You're not wrong. Including that time when a statue was used to bonk someone on the head over the chest, which somehow snagged a cape and formed the silhouette of a magician, which coincidentally is also known for a flying act. Yes. And also the target was not even the right target. But still, it's a little ludicrous. I don't know if that's really what happened, but I don't think that's what happened. That seems a little ludicrous. But is it not conceivable that the window was open at a time in... not even remotely? Let us not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. No Londoner will ever leave the wooden window open in the middle of winter. Ah. This is the most fascinating scenario in our series, Constance. Yes, indeed, the kind of scene is so unpredictable to the greatest front. I believe it's a possibility, my lord. It's quite enough. I don't know who said that. Ah, okay, yeah, it was who I thought said that. Well, I hope that everyone can see for what you are now, you little foreign trickster. You call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward. A mean coward! Really? Claiming that our little tiff set the whole neighborhood alight, honestly. Implying that I'm merely posing as a maid for appearance's sake. How could you? It's nothing to do with this beastly case, not any of it. All you've done is sully your family name. No, I assure you that was never my intention. Dragging an upstanding citizen's name through the mud to divert attention from your failing defense. I should box your ears, that's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable. To right! Here we go. How long have we sat here now listening to this Nipponese sprout out his fancy foreign theories? But think about it. At the end of the day, the only person who could possibly have stabbed the victim is that little hunchback with the mustache, and he ran away from the scene too! I do declare you're right. It's true. Yes, what did I tell you? Makes sense to me. Sorry, what's that? Well... What's good for agreement? What is your position, Lord Six? In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings. But then, one must always exercise patience in order to savor the best vintage. No, wait! The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been... Lick Slam! If books are your predilection, my learned friend, study them on your own time. No. What? No forgive the discourtesy this time?
Guilty!
Guilty.
Not again.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty!
And for some reason, we are allowed a second bite at the apple with a second summation, huh? Now we're getting towards the wacky twists and turns of like constantly being put on the back foot of this attorney. Thank you for your rigorous suspense. That's twice now, it's over. Mr. Naruhodo, don't give up. Mr. Sato, have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet. You're not suggesting. Of course, the defense has the right to another summation examination at this point. You could still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance. This is our third one more chance now, you know? I should start a counter. How many times in one case we keep getting these? My lord, the defense asks to exercise its right to summation examination. You believe you still have tricks up your sleeve. I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. This is no time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined. Alright. So I'm assuming eventually we are going to drag the Gyarados up onto the witness stand. Assumably. That's the end goal. We need them to testify. Oh, I just realized the couple are wearing the same scarf. I didn't even see it until I saw their back. Yeah. Yeah, my lord. The accused left behind evidence at the scene, didn't he? Those 3 books of his. If there was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider. Even if the woman was throwing books, it can't be related with this crime if the window was closed, can it? Dear Lee, it was only a little book. Hardly life-threatening, even with a direct hit. Look, I just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, I'll be in a tiny bit of trouble. Time to think of it, we had a fire at home a while ago. Gives me the sneezes. Oh, yes. I'll have to work with someone else's data somewhere, it seems. I don't know what is that, of course. My learned student friend was unable to find fault in the previous witness testimony. So the court must accept the fact that it was indeed the accused in fleeing from the scene. And moreover, no one else was even at the scene to commit the crime. That means, I'm afraid, that during this summation examination, it's essential that you establish some other tangible explanation for the facts. But how? What would even constitute a tangible explanation here? Isn't it obvious? Who stabbed the woman, and how? Those 2 details are all you need to provide. Simply give us a name and a method by which the attack was conducted. And there I was thinking this might be hard. Mr. Naruhodo, you have to do it, otherwise this really will be where the trial ends. Ugh, no pressure then. Oh, yes, my lord. Alright, Ryunosuke, focus your mind now. Clearly, the key to the summation examination is going to be juror number 4, the maid. Or should I say, Mrs. Garrett. We have a book that disappeared from the Garrett's house on the evening of the incident, and the 4th book found in the victim's hand. There must be a way to link the two. Yes, that's what we have to find. Using every technique I've learned in my short career so far, whatever it takes. Don't forget to keep an eye on Mrs. Garrett and how she reacts, even to the things other people say. My voices are getting mixed up. I'm doing too many voices. I'm starting to lose my identity. The longer I play this game, the more my identity is becoming confused. I'm sorry, chat. I hope you guys are having fun though. And I hope my narration is adding to this playthrough. Alright.
Hold it!
But as we now know, there were 4 books, not 3. Well, what difference does it make? There's every possibility that the 4th book, in fact, belongs to the defendant's landlord. Yes, that's the part I have a problem with. Sorry? Well, at the point the woman was stabbed, this landlord fellow was at home, wasn't he? Enjoying a fiery scrap with his wife or something, you said. That's not exactly how I put it, no. Well, anyway, the point is, the fellow and his wife were somewhere else when it happened. I think that's what you call a strong alibi. So it couldn't have been the landlord who did it, which only leaves the Nipponese fellow. Honestly, I can't see what all the palavers... Palaver? Palaver's about. It's a done deal, isn't it? I suppose it is, since I've nothing witty left to say.
Hold it!
So, you might be willing to change your decision, you mean? Oh my, such delight on your face, but I'm afraid I shan't be swayed by emotion. Despite what you may think of me, I am a very modern, metropolitan, and rational woman. That's great. If one reads the morning papers, it's all forgotten by tea time, isn't it? So why read them in the first place? You see, modern, metropolitan, and rational thinking, wouldn't you say? And not at all extreme. As I see it, an overwhelming suspicious Japanese men have been implicated by overwhelmingly strong testimony. So despite 1 or 2 minor puzzlements, I do declare that the man is overwhelmingly guilty. Modern, metropolitan, and rational logic, wouldn't you say? Overwhelmingly. But us modern gals are always delighted to embrace new fads. So I'd be only too happy to consider an exciting new theory if you could come up with one. I'd be happy to do that too, if only I could. Let's do our very best not to disappoint the modern and metropolitan young lady. Right. I'm glad you omitted rational there.
Hold it!
It's interesting, yeah, this is a different remix of Summation, right? This is like Climax Summation or something. But what about the possibility that the window was open? What about it? I mean, there's just no way it could have been. How can you be so sure? The prosecutor fellow over there said it earlier, didn't he? Winters in London are no joke. You don't want to invite that sort of crowd indoors. So no, that window wasn't open. Us Londoners like sitting by the fire and staying warm, see? But you couldn't categorically state that the window wasn't open, could you? It just wasn't. They wouldn't have opened it. Then what's the point in even having windows, huh? Oh, sorry. Somehow I needed to show that there's an undeniable possibility that the window was open. Because this young man isn't going to budge otherwise. I'm pretty sure... Actually, these last 2 people are the ones that will give us the information we need by giving some other pertinent random clues. But we'll go in order, But the little book was on fire at the time, was it not? The flames of love, how have you know? There's really no such thing as a loving incendiary bomb. Well, he brought it upon himself. It's playing a fire to betray a fiery love. Isn't it? Well, don't you agree? Oh, well, any kind of betrayal is certainly a bad thing, yes. But I think the argument might have arisen out of a misunderstanding, Mrs. Garrett. Never you mind that. The point is we were just having a joyful little dispute, nothing more. And I won't have any more of these suggestions that was anything whatsoever to do with this crime. Right, well, we'll see about that. But what about juror number 5? He doesn't seem to be turning a hair at Mr. Scaradop's relentless onslaughts. It's almost as though he's used to it. What a gentle soul he is.
Hold it!
Actually, I'm beginning to wonder if the Gyaradops are even involved, or if it's a red herring. Because yeah, if the way we're going, I have a feel. I'm starting to wonder, yeah, like maybe they're not involved either, and this was just a horrible accident somehow. So we'll see. I don't even know if we're gonna drag them onto the witness stand or not, but we'll see. Cause yeah, why would they put her in the? They wouldn't put her in the jury unless, I don't know, unless they are actually going to drag her from the jury box down to the witness stand. But that would be unprecedented, and also will leave us with a 5-man jury, and I'm pretty sure that's gonna be all sorts of weird, logistical nightmares. So I'm starting to doubt. You just want to get this over with. How can you sit there and say something like that? A man's future is at stake here. Let him and me both then, just like I said before. What? I told you already, I'm a day laborer, aren't I? If I don't bring home some radios with me tonight, you'll find me floating face down in the Thames tomorrow morning. What? You heard me. My missus isn't one to mess about, you know? She can be fierce, believe you me. Another shining example of marital bliss, then. A situation like this cropped up the other day. It was, well, you know, it's funny, but I can't quite remember. Sorry? It was too frightening, that's the thing. I must have blocked it out. Helpful. I wonder if Mrs. Beatware would be dragged into the Thames by his scarf. Don't even go there, Miss Susato. There must be some way to jog his memory about this.
Hold it!
Does that have anything to do with your decision about the defendant's culpability in this case?
Sir, where's that? You have to speak up, lad.
Oh, the Thames. Thames? Oh, okay. Right, I've been pronouncing it wrong my entire life, I'm sorry. I've never heard it said out loud. I pronounce it like the Ames and Flames, but it's Thames. Okay. Could you tell us more about that fire?
It was last winter. My grandchildren brought me a lovely cake on my birthday. There's 75 candles at the top of it. What a sight to behold it was.
You put candles on a cake. Was some kind of devil worship? Yeah, yeah, from a Japanese perspective, you're basically offering incense to the dead, right? Like, wouldn't it be? Yeah, I guess culturally it'd be kind of like saying, "Hey, you will die soon." Of course not. It was an angel cake to celebrate my birthday, obviously. It seems that's a common custom here in Great Britain, Mr. Naruhodo.
Anyway, I mustered all my puff to blow them out. Only I must have blown wrong somehow. The flames didn't go up, but candles went flying all over the room. The furniture caught and everything went up. The whole place filled with smoke.
Definitely sounds like devil worship to me. And by the sneezes, I presume you mean a cold. But how did you catch a cold from a fire? Ah. So they opened the window for ventilation to get rid of the smoke. That's what we're going with, eh?
What a fiasco it was. The grandchildren, bless them, threw water over me as they tried to put out the flames. And then, because the whole room had filled up with smoke, of course, we had to open all the windows to clear it.
The windows?
The inviting winter air rushed over me like the devil dancing on my grave, it did. I caught a terrible cold from it. It put me in hospital for a while. I would forget that birthday in a hurry.
I knew it was devil worship all along. But something about this old man's story is playing on my mind for some reason. It's always the weird, unrelated ramblings that give us the logical clue to make assertions. We need to demonstrate who, apart from Mr. Natsume, could have attacked the young woman on the street, as well as how he or she could have done it. Yes, but once again the jurors' statements are full of personal prejudice. A lot of them seem convinced they're right, even in the face of logical arguments to the contrary. I think you're going to need to pit them against each other if they're forced to accept an alternative explanation. Yes, I don't necessarily need to find contradictions between their assertions, just a connection might do the trick. Alright, I'll see what I can do. If anything stands out, I'll go in for a strike.
That's the spirit.
Alright. We have new info here now, so we can pit this guy.
Objection!
The window was open. These two jurors' statements clearly contradict one another.
Don't point at me again. I told you it wasn't me. Huh? What's that you say? Speak up, lad. Speak up.
Juror number 3, do you see?
Oh, me?
See what, sir? Did you hear juror number 6's account of his birthday celebrations last year? It seems, despite being a Londoner, he once opened his windows in the middle of winter.
Well, yes, of course, because it was an emergency.
I mean, obviously, if the room was filled with smoke from a fire, then you'd be mad not to open the... Oh! Exactly. On the day in question, at the time of the incident, there was a fire in the Garredup's household. And Mr. Garredup had the following to say about it. The whole place filled with smoke.
Oh, my hat.
Pursue!
Excuse me!
Wow, oh, we're pursuing in the middle of... Oh, I see what you mean now. We're combining mechanics. We are pursuing in the middle of jury summation. Alright. Juror number 4, do you have something to say about that?
Mrs. Garredup. Oh, dearie me. What is the meaning of this? How dare you imply that I'm hiding who I really am?
It's imperative that you confirm something to the court. So please, it's time to drop the pretense now.
Oh, what is it?
When the fire started in your house that day, did you or your husband open the window?
What? I beg your pardon. What are you insinuating?
The room would have been thick with smoke after the carpet and bookcase caught fire as they did. In a situation like that, it's inconceivable that you wouldn't have opened the window. And what if we did?
Oh, alright then. Yes, you're right. My husband was frantically trying to open the window, which can't have been easy since I continued to give him a justly deserved book battering.
Even though your house was on fire?
Oh, you never stop trolling until the anger subsides. It'll be terribly bad for the nerves to do otherwise.
Of course. I should have realized.
That's a significant step forward, Mr. Naruhodo. You managed to establish that the window was open. You simply must have that added to Mrs. Garredup's formal statement.
Now you mentioned yes, the window was open, which I'm feeling forgotten, but it's true.
Hold it!
The 4th book found at the scene of the crime shows very obvious signs of fire damage. And the title of the book is The Lion's Pride. The same title, in fact, as the book that Mr. Garredup told us he had been reading.
Well, I really couldn't say.
On the day in question, did you or did you not throw at your husband the copy of The Lion's Pride that he had been reading?
I did.
It was the first thing I could lay my hands on, so I hurled it straight at him. And now you come to mention it, yes. He was rather enjoying reading it, you're right. Why did you not reveal this information to the court from the outset?
Because I couldn't, you insolent little man. I didn't remember. At times like that, you pick up and throw whatever you can lay your hands on as well, you know?
I really don't.
I barely noticed I was throwing a book, much less the title of it.
This is a weird chain. We're jostling the memory of the man on an unrelated domestic incident from this one? Okay.
Excuse me!
I don't know what this is going to... I don't know how this is going to be relevant, but let's see. Let's see where this goes. What is it, juror number 5? You know something. I've remembered what it was. That memory I blocked out. Ah. A thought just occurred to me. A crazy thought just occurred to me. Don't answer it, chat. Don't answer it, but... Are you telling me... this is his wife? Is this juror number 5's wife? Is that where we're going? Because if so... how the hell did we get all these related people with the jury? This is the biggest coincidence in the history of Ace Attorney, and I'm not even exaggerating when I say that, like, this is probably the most contrived thing. And, like, I know that's a tall statement to make, but, like, personally, for some reason, this of all things is really stretching the credibility. You're not allowed to answer yes, but I want to do this little sidebar with chat because that realization popped into my mind that this is a possibility. Even if it doesn't pan out, sure, it's fine. But what hand of providence went into the jury selection of this case? Holy shit. Ah. It was listening to what this granny was saying. Brought it all flooding back. Who are you calling a granny, you cheeky devil? I'm Mrs. Garrett aboard the maid. I'll have you know. The man doesn't even flinch. Please tell me that's not because he's so used to being hit all the time. It was about 2 weeks ago now. I just got back home after work, like. I put my hand in my pocket for the wages I just earned that day, and I nearly died. There was a hole. Every last penny had dropped out. Oh dear, what a disaster. You haven't heard the half of it, boy. Oh. The wife was cutting up some chicken at the time. I could hardly get the words out, but I told her straight. I've lost a day's wages, love. Next thing I knew, the blade was whistling past my ear. Stuck into the wall next to me, it did. About an inch deep. No words, just terror. I could smell it then, you know, the god-awful stench of the Thames. I was sure I was going to end up face down in the muddy banks that night, I can tell you. Now, that's a real disaster, isn't it? I'll never use the word lightly again. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. When women lose their rag, they'll throw anything at you. Knives, hatchets, hammers, you name it. Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't think that all women are so short-tempered and unrefined. No, I wasn't thinking that. Miss, I judo flip you at a moment's notice. Throwing household objects at people is, well, it's so uncivilized. At least attack with honor, using a bow or the like. What? Attack? Who are you going to attack? Never mind. Anyway, this man's words. Could be rather significant, I think. Alright, we'll come back to the bow and arrow thing later, if I dare. Okay, I think I may have been overthinking it, and like that may not be the case. Alright, I think they're just saying that it really was the knife being flung out the window. Okay, that's still silly, but sure.
Objection.
Okay. I don't know why I went there, but like for some reason I thought that like I thought the other woman was also like somehow involved in a marital dispute and got accidentally stabbed by him or something, or she accidentally stabbed herself or something. I don't know why. I don't know why I was going there, but all right. Juror number 2, do you think perhaps that this could be one such novel alternative? Oh my, whatever do you mean? An alternative explanation as to how the victim was stabbed in the back. What are you talking about? We've demonstrated that the 4th book, The Lion's Pride, that was found at the scene of the crime, originated in Mr. Garridub's room on the top floor of his house. Therefore, it's equally possible that some other object besides the book could have found its way from the Garrett household to the street below. What's that now? After all, Mr. Scarab could have thrown any number of different objects at her husband. Isn't that right, juror number 4? What are you insinuating now, you little beanpole? I'm beginning to think that, ever since the true origins of this book came to light, perhaps she's had a feeling this might be what happened. Now you listen here, you Eastern Gala. As the foreman of this jury, I demand a straight answer. You give us this yarn about some other object making its way out of the house, but what? What was it? And at last, we get to the heart of the matter, eh? I'm really taking a big gamble here. There was a bold accusation to make, but I haven't any real evidence to back it up. But I'm certain that at the very least, this warrants further investigation. Is this your knife? Alright, Mr. Foreman, I'll try to explain the defense's theory. The other object that found its way from the Garrett household to the scene of the crime was... this knife!
Take that!
Juror number 4, Mrs. Garrett. What? What now? I must apologize in advance for this. But I need you to confirm something else for the court. This knife. Have you ever seen this knife before? Ah. Man. My lord, remember that when the victim was attacked, Mr. and Mrs. Garrett were in the throes of an argument. Mrs. Garrett was hurling anything she could at her husband, who had been backed up against the window. A window that had been opened to clear the smoke, and through which a book sailed to land at the crime scene. You can't seriously believe that the book was found in the victim's grasp. Are you saying that it flew out of the window and across the street to land neatly in her hand? Huh. Even my missus hasn't got a name like that. Yes, I admit, there are many details we don't yet understand. But that's the point. That's precisely why. We must not allow this trial to end. Not right now. Oh my. Ah! Mrs. Garrett, your answer, please. Have you seen this knife before or not? Oh, My lord, I wish to change my decision. I'm a woman of my word, after all. Thank you, madame. Yes, I agree. I certainly didn't see this coming, but... I just don't think it would be right for this trial to come to an end just now with so many unanswered questions. Mr. Foreman! I'd have to agree. Not that I think the granny did it, mind. Yes, you know what? I'm not quite happy about this at the moment either. All together now, ladies and gents. We did it. Oh, congratulations, Mr. Naruhodo. And Von Zeke is over there, he's just tired of all this nonsense. This trial is rapidly descending into a farce. Like a corked wine, the first few sips are bitter enough. But what follows is so repugnant, it's good for nothing save the gutter. If I may, Lord Van Zieks, the defense has just put forward a credible alternative explanation for what happened. Credible? Is that your considered opinion, Mr. Foreman? The defense's argument is a joke to which I barely know how to respond, but let me start by insisting that you must all familiarize yourself better with the relative positions of those places being discussed. What do you mean by that? What's his angle this time? It should already be more than apparent that between the crime scene and the Garrett household runs a rather wide street, Briar Road. The which means that the distance from the Gyarados house to the scene is some, yes, 15 yards.
Let me see. 15 yards. That's around 14 meters.
14 meters? Oh, that's a little further than I imagined. And, as you ladies and gentlemen of the jury rightly noted as having portentous significance, the fourth book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, the smoldering book, once only held by the lady of the house, traveled some 15 yards, to land on the opposite side of the road, neatly between the collapsed victim's fingers and thumb. Is that your final conclusion, my learned and deluded friend? And did the jackknife follow a near-identical trajectory to plunge into the middle of the victim's back? This fantasy is somewhat stretching the notion of having a bad day for the victim, I think. Even those pathetic serialized detective stories are more believable plots. You hear that, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle? This man just called you a hack! There's nothing I can say to that. That prosecutor loves the sound of his own voice. Mr. Sato, serialized detective stories are pathetic, are they? How dare he! Oh, she's angry now. She's going to activate Devil Trigger. Maybe let's pick our battles here. My lord, might I be allowed to speak? The prosecution may consider the idea a fantasy, but what the defense has postulated was believable enough to persuade the jury to change its leaning. And as such, the court has a duty to explore this alternative explanation as thoroughly as possible. To that end, juror number 4, Mrs. Joan Garida, must be called to testify and submit to cross-examination. Oh, we're really doing this? I'll say, are they gonna replace the juror then? Because we need 6 jurors, right?
Objection!
And unnecessary.
Lorenzi!
There are already witnesses in the stand whose testimony the defense may further cross-examine. If my learned friend's partial theory has any truth in it, then both a burning book and a jackknife must have flown through the sky before this couple's eyes. And we must assume they will be able to testify accordingly.
I see witnesses. Yes, sir. Constable Rollybeat reporting for duty, sir.
Well, good morning, officer.
Sorry for dozing until now, sir. I haven't slept for a month on account of a villain who's appeared on my beat, sir. Oh, they are so heroic, these London bobbies. Patricia, my darling, I've been neglecting you, but no more. Oh, Rolly, my hero, you make me swoon.
Oh.
And all the witnesses in the stand to testify again.
Okay, yeah, this is a little less wacky, I guess. Not that it's not wacky, just the fact that the jury has people related to the case in it, but this is slightly less wacky. Because from the jury box to the witness stand and back to the jury box would be extremely tainted jury. It's like, words cannot even begin to describe how tainted this jury is.
Yes, sir.
It boggles the mind. I'm having fun though. Don't get me wrong. I am pointing out the ludicrousness of this one because it's surprisingly it's taken this long for this particular game to get really wacky with with the artistic license and the law side, Up to this point it's been like slightly exaggerated, but okay, it's like typical law. It's been typical law drama up to like the 3rd case. And then we go into the 4th case and now this is the Ace Attorney level of law bullshit that I'm familiar with. So yeah, I'm having fun though. Don't get me wrong. This case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Gerda. Believe me, London Bobby is good for his word. You see, sir, the windows on the top floor of the Gerda house are top hinge casements. Obviously, if anything had been thrown out the window, we would have seen it. I did leave the scene to go and fetch help, but my trusty Rolly was there to make sure nothing was disturbed. I didn't take my eye off the crime scene for one moment, sir. Nothing strange to report on that front, sir. Did he, though? The detail was not in the police report, Constable. Ah, yes, sorry about that. I must have been a little drowsy. Well, at least he's awake to testify now. You cannot excuse your sins of drowsiness every time, Constable. No, sir! Sorry, but... what exactly is a top hinge casement window? And you? You cannot excuse your ignorance of such trite remarks, my learned friend. Of course, sorry. Yeah, I'm realizing now, Van Zieks is very sarcastic, but that's honestly the worst of, like, that's the worst thing he does. He's very polite. He's sarcastic, but he's polite, for the most part. He is racist though, but so is everybody, so I guess less of a moral failing than usual. I mean, it's a moral failing, but, you know, less of a relative moral failing. I found it, Mr. Naruhodo. Cast your mind back to the windows in Mr. and Mrs. Scaradup's room. Alright, I'll try. So the window opens in order to allow air to circulate inside the house. But as it's a top hinge casement window, it swings open along the upper edge, you see. I'm glad you've rectified your ignorance. A casement window's most prominent feature is its stay, a metal bar which prevents the window from being opened beyond a certain amount. It prevents it opening. This is all news to me. Absolutely correct, sir. In other words, if a book or knife would have been thrown through the open window, it would have clattered against the pane and fallen straight down to the pavement below. No. You see the problem then? Good. The education of windows is complete. There was never any possibility of either the book or the knife traveling 15 yards over the road. That is, unless the window pane had been shattered. Something we've discounted already. That can't be. Another twist, huh? Alright. Alright. Let's take another look at the crime scene again. Herm. Are we quite sure we're on the right side of the street? Two possibilities that I'm thinking of. One is that they marked the place wrong. Two is that they moved the body because, like I said, in the last session, the snow is cleared, which is weird. But I don't know if it's weird or not, but like the snow is cleared around the body, which is interesting. But also, if she was right below the window and the knife fell down and plunged into her, that actually is more plausible than a knife flying in a parabolic arc and nailing somebody across the street. You know? Like, this is more like, I don't know. Especially... yeah, it's the throwing knife thing, you know? You throw a knife, what are the odds it's gonna land point side in, you know? Whereas, like, you throw a knife at a window, it bounces off the pane, it falls straight down. The aerodynamics of a knife will at least make more sense that it falls straight down, you know? Blade side first. So, funnily enough, they've made it more plausible to me. But yeah, so my money is on the incident happened on that side of the road, the other side. And the body was moved. That's my current working theory. Did you see that, Rolly? The young Japanese man just collapsed in agony. Oh yes, my darling, I saw it. I saw how you crumbled before me. Oh, Rolly, you're so strong. I'm face testing. How is this happening? I haven't even started the cross-examination yet, and already my argument's been destroyed.
Let's see if you can drag yourself up right again. The court awaits your cross-examination.
Ryunosuke hit this a lot more than Phoenix does. My lord. Oh good, another desperate situation. This is our, what, 5th last chance now, I guess? Yeah, it's probably our 5th one. This has final cross-examination music on it now though, so this is probably the last one.
Hold it!
How can you say that for certain? This is the second to last testimony? Oh, okay. I guess they use climax music for, not just the final one then. Okay. A very good question, sir. And the answer is this. There's a noble founding principles of the force written on it as a reminder to all us policemen for our sworn duty. He showed us that before, didn't he? Is that... Is this the equivalent of, like, us showing our attorney's badge to everybody? Did he? I can't say I remember. To patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. It's what the job's all about. That is why I could stand here today beside my long-suffering wife and tell you Bobby's good for his word. While rubbing my tired eyes and admittedly. Sir? Oh, Rolly, you're so manly. Of course I am, my darling Patricia. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. No, none of this is what I meant. I meant, how can you say for certain that this case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garrett? Ah, I see, sir. You should have said so earlier, sir. Yes, well, so could you answer the question? That was a waste of time, then. Absolutely, sir. I will answer it to the fullest of my abilities, sir. There's a surprising reason why Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's domestic dispute can be related to this case. But before I get into that, sir, just one thing. Yes? I'm very much like you and all your countrymen to understand the great British institution of Scotland Yard. So I hope we'll take back some tales of us London Bobbies and how we uphold our guiding principles. I wasn't planning on going back just yet. I've only just arrived here. So to that end, sir, I'd be happy to lend you my warrant card for your perusal. But I must warn you, you won't be able to get through it without shedding a few tears. Thank you. I'll try. We're getting new evidence at this point? Okay. I see. We're getting new evidence at a point like this. Alright. Please on the stride to protect the peace of all the people. The officers better want to know that. Any crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they are discovered. When a crime is discovered on its beat, a policeman assists initial investigation to help. They did mention the jurisdiction thing. They did mention the jurisdiction thing. And this isn't his jurisdiction. Did he move the body so it would be in his jurisdiction? But why would he do that? He also just... Wait, no. Did he move the body so it wasn't in his jurisdiction? So he didn't have to do his work. Because he's on his date. He's like, I don't want to deal with extra work right now. Let me just scoot the body over to the other side of the street. And then get my wife to go and report it. So, you know, it's not in my beat, so not my problem. Really? Also, we needed a card to make this assertion? Alright. You know what, fair. I myself forgot about it, and I mean, I didn't know it was relevant. I thought it was just fluff information until this became into evidence, and now I'm considering it as pertinent information. Alright. This is silly. Well, I'll press everything just in case.
Hold it!
In case another statement pops up that I have to present it on. But which mini don't open fully, is that correct? Yes, sir! They just dare to allow a bit of air through the house, you see. So they're restricted as to how much they open. And therefore, anything thrown out the window from inside the room would simply strike the pane and fall to the street directly below. For clarity, allow me to mark the map. Yeah, I think we needed to press it, because we'll need it. Here is the location of the objects of the fall.
Yes.
Would it have been so hard for someone to manage to do this top-inch casement thing before? Well, I have another question for you, Constable.
And what would that be, sir?
How do you even know? Why would you have any idea what sort of windows Mr. and Mrs. Gardup's house is furnished with? Well, sir. It's very simple. You see, I helped with the investigation yesterday.
Excuse me!
Yes, I need to add Mrs. Speed. Oh! When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. He had to assist it because it was in his beat. But just now he said it wasn't in his beat, which is why he sent his wife to get it. That's a contradiction. What exactly this contradiction means, I am unsure. I think my theory just now might be what happened, but that means they found out that the body was moved and called him back? I guess? I don't know, this is weird. This is a little weird. Here's something to add, Mrs. Beat. Sorry? You look, well, delighted. Is there some particular reason for that? Oh, I was just remembering. That's all. You really were. So lucky. Lucky? What do you mean? Well, of course I feel terrible for the poor woman who was attacked. Don't misunderstand me, please. But we were just so lucky it didn't happen on Rolly's beat. Oh, it was so close, you see. Oh, I hadn't realized. Oh yes, that street, Briar Road. That's the boundary between Rolly's beat and the next one. Isn't that right, my love? Constable Beat. Huh? Oh. Yes, that's right. That's the reason I was helping out of interviewing the occupants of the Gerdab house of the estate. Oh. Okay, okay. I understand now. They got him to do it because the interviewees were in his beat. So my theory stands, He moved him across the street so that he wouldn't have to interrupt his anniversary dinner. I got it. The house is on my beat, you see, sir. Dude, this guy tampered with the evidence. For a really stupid reason. Like, obviously we've had evidence tampering in Ace Attorney before, but this is probably the silliest reason for it. That really was cutting it close then. Constable, I wonder if you could clarify something. If the Gerdab household is on your beat, does that mean that the pavement next to it is as well? Outside Mr. Gerdab's house? Yes, ma'am. The pavement on that side of the road is part of my beat. I see. I was unaware of that. Just think, if the woman had been attacked just on this other side of Briar Road, he would never have been able to go for that meal to celebrate our wedding anniversary. Okay, now they're telegraphing it. Now they're really telegraphing it. Okay. I'm glad I figured it out before we got to this statement. Like the implications. But that's the life of Bobby after all. You know what I think? I think it was the good Lord's way of rewarding my Rolly for all his hard work. Don't you think so, my darling? There must be it, Pat, my love. There must be it. I think perhaps we should make sure we have that information officially on record. Leave it to me, Miss Naruhodo. I'll take care of it immediately. And now it's my turn, I think. Okay, yeah, we did have to press that just to get all the info. So... they updated the description on it, got it.
Hold it!
But according to my notes here, the sun had gone down already and it was dark. Oh, but Rolly and I was just strolling along, gazing at the night sky and looking for a lucky star. Sorry? A star that will guide us to eternal happiness. Can it guide you to answer the question? If a flaming book had cut across the sky in front of us, it would have lit up like a shooting star. And if I'd seen a shooting star, I would have made a wish upon it. That'd probably be an inspector, I would have said, 3 times at least. Of course, what with the smog and everything, we couldn't actually see any stars. In short, are you trying to say that neither a book nor a knife crossed the sky before you? Yes, sir, that is correct, sir. As sure as the night sky in London is starless, sir. It certainly seems like they're telling the truth. And then we saw the poor woman fall to the ground, so we ran straight over to help her.
Hold it!
Yes, you said that you went to a nearby police box to fetch another officer. Is that right? That's right, yes. If it had been on rolly speed, I would have known exactly where I was going, of course. Don't feel bad, my love. You can't be expected to know the location of every police box and every beat. So Rolly told me the way. Only, I sort of got a little lost in the way. Patricia, my darling, that's why I love you. Your terrible sense of direction is bewitching to me. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Oh, please. Girl, please. So I suppose I was gone for about 15 minutes. But like I said, my Rolly was at the scene the whole time, making sure nothing was disturbed. I was off duty at the time, of course, but a true Bobby is never really off duty, sir. And that's when he moved it. And then take my eye off the crime scene for one moment, sir. Not interested.
Hold it!
Doubt. Nothing to report. That's correct, sir. I had my eyes wide open the entire time, never looked away for a second. No one else approached the scene and nothing was removed from it. I could swear to that on the yard's honor, sir. I guess the yard's honor doesn't mean diddly squat! Really? That seems a little strange. Beg your pardon, sir. Strange, sir. Seems altogether regular for me. This burnt copy of the Lion's Pride was originally the Garrett house. So the question remains, how did it find its way into the hand of the victim? Can you shed any light on that, seeing as you were at the scene of the crime the entire time? Aha! Could it be a different copy, sir? One that just happened to be burnt as well? Even if that were possible, why would the victim have been gripping a book like that in her hand? As we can see from this photographic print, she had a bag over her shoulder. Well, sir, the book was in the lady's hand from the moment we arrived at the scene. Is that so? There's something about this statement that's not sitting right with me. The two mysteries of how that knife ended up in her back and how that book ended up in her hand. There must be some common thread between them. Can I ask you something? Please, Mr. Lawyer, sir. Oh, yes, of course. What is it? You're adopting us, aren't you? I can tell. What? I wasn't really, what's she doing? Oh, we're getting at another statement, so we had to press. I guess the solution on that one was to press everything, instead of presenting evidence early. You see, this is why I press every statement first. That's just how you learn to play these games. Because pressing is free, doesn't penalize you. Usually, except for that one very specific, except for a few very specific cases where the judge is absolutely fed up with your shit. But otherwise, just press everything. That's usually how you get new information to review itself. Please, just because I'm a woman, it doesn't make my testimony any less valuable. You might just see me as the wife of a policeman, but I'm a woman of my word, I am. I really don't remember ever suggesting that I adopted you. No excuses, I don't want to hear it. My voice will be heard. My lord, you'll let me speak, won't you? She's volunteering more info. Right. Yeah. That was a very loud mutter.
I heard that. That Japanese man thinks a policeman's wife words count for nothing, does he? Watch out, sir. I might let you get away with something like that, but my Rolly won't.
Duly noted, Mrs. Beat. Please, I humbly ask you to continue. What could she possibly be about to say, I wonder? I know what I saw, my eyes never let me know. My sense direction is a little off sometimes, so... I'm gonna press this too. Mrs. Beat, nobody is questioning what you've told us.
I saw it, I did, that evening. I saw it clearly. The little Eastern man with the whiskers and the funny curved backs, slinking away from the scene. And I know what I didn't see as well. I didn't see any flaming books and knives flying through the sky.
All very clear. You also mentioned something about having a poor sense of direction?
Oh, yes, well, that's a little embarrassing, really. I'm always ending up at the wrong place when I've made arrangements to meet Rolly. He gets ever so cross.
Excuse me.
Constable Beat, is there a problem? No, sir. No problem, sir. Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind, perhaps?
Oh, well, in a way, sir. Yes, sir. I was just remembering that the same thing happened that evening is all.
You mean Mrs. Beat lost her way on the night of the incident?
Well, you see, I sent her off to find a police box in the next beat over from mine. But she was gone a fair bit longer than what I was expecting. I thought she'd be back inside 10 minutes, but my darling was gone a good 15. Oh, Rolly, you're such a tease. But the reason I was so long was because of the bouquet, silly.
The bouquet? Sorry, what bouquet are you talking about?
Oh, it was a present for our wedding anniversary. Rolly's so romantic. He saved up for her fartings and half pennies he found in the gutter while doing his rounds.
Yes, how romantic.
I forgot to know about it until just now. Had you, my darling?
Oh yes.
But that was just between us. No talking about it to anyone else, darling. You have to promise... Really? Oh.
What was that all about? Constable Beat looked very obviously troubled during that exchange.
I'm afraid I can't offer any useful insight, Mr. Naruhodo. But I'm quite sure of one thing. You have to ask Mrs. Beat about the bouquet.
Mrs. Beat, this bouquet you just mentioned. I'd like you to add details about it to your testimony, please.
Oh, really? Yes, I'd love to.
The witness is running her mouth!
Hold it!
This is a long statement. They're gonna press a bunch of stuff. You mean you dropped the bouquet at the scene of the crime?
Yes, that's right. Oh, I was so upset. When we ran over and saw there was a woman with a knife in her back, I was so shocked I dropped the bouquet Rolly gave me. I was in a dark spot where the streetlights weren't casting any light, so I didn't notice at first.
And then you went to the police box to report it to the policeman whose beat it was on.
Yes, and I came back to the scene together with the other constable, you see. That's when I spotted my bouquet again. But the funny thing was, when I went to pick it up, it was nowhere near the victim's body at all.
In case you need reminding, Mrs. Beat, the victim is not deceased.
I was so flustered for a moment before I heard a voice calling me from the other side of the road.
Your husband, presumably.
That's right, silly me, I've gone over to the wrong side of the street. Although, I'm going to blame the bouquet this time. I can't think how I got there. I really can't.
So the bouquet somehow moved from one side of Briar Road to the opposite.
Isn't it? But the worst of it is I forgot to pick the bouquet up again when we left the scene. The beautiful rose Rory brought me, with that change from the gutter he spent so long collecting.
It's still there then, by bouquet. Do you perhaps mean this sorry solitary rose?
Oh! Oh! Yes, that's it! That's the bouquet Rolly bought me for our anniversary. The old bits of change he found in the gutter.
Maybe just call it a rose. According to the report by the police officer in charge of the crime scene investigation, it was found on the edge of the pavement in front of the Gyaradev household. In front of the Gyaradev house? Although it wasn't noticed until the morning as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. It was believed to be of no relevance to the case, since it was found on the opposite side of the thoroughfare. True thing.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Could I have it back now, please? No, I think good measure should be added to the court record as evidence.
Oh. Well, I guess we needed this as well for the last piece of evidence. Can we actually look at it? We can. We don't need to, but we can. An English rose. It's such a beautiful flower. This is a rose, is it? I've never seen one before. Do you not take an interest in flowers, Mr. Naruhodo? I wouldn't say that exactly, but I do know 3 types at least. Gosh, 3? Yes, plum blossom, peach blossom, and cherry blossom. Perhaps you should consider branching out, learning some that aren't fruit tree based, for example. It's very stylish paper the flowers wrapped in, isn't it? It's just an old newspaper, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, I suppose it's because I'm not used to seeing English print. It looks so exotic to me. I see. Is something wrong? Oh, no. I was just thinking that if you wrapped a stone-baked sweet potato in English newspaper, it might look like some sort of fancy cake. Susato-san, you do love your cakes. Symbol of our love. I want it back after the trial. Do you hear me? I want it back.
Good grief. First, rest assured that I shall do my very best not to forget, Mrs. Speed.
Alright, now we have our evidence. The smoking gun. The disappearing rose.
Objection!
Your claim, Constable Beat, that there was nothing to report in the 15 or so minutes you were guarding the scene. But that cannot be. What do you mean to say? In your testimony just now, Mrs. Speed, you explained to the court that when you arrived back at the scene of the crime with the policeman assigned to that beat, the bouquet you had dropped at the victim's side was no longer anywhere nearby.
Objection!
Yes, on the opposite side of Briar Road to where the victim was attacked. But considering the size of that meager bouquet, if a single solid bloom can be so described, no doubt it was blown in the wind across the street, back into the gutter where it belongs. Meager?
Objection!
But if that were the case, why did Constable Beat not testify to the fact? No one else approached the scene and nothing was removed from it. Constable Beat saw to that on Scotland Yard's honor. But the bouquet belonged to me. It has nothing to do with the case. That's why Rowley didn't mention it, I'm sure. No, because sadly, it's not only your bouquet we're talking about here. More than one thing in this case is mysteriously the wrong way around. What are you talking about? Think about it. Besides Mrs. Beat's bouquet, there's Mr. Garridab's book. Mr. Garridab's copy of The Lion's Pride, which was thrown out of the window by his wife, would have struck the pane of the casement window and landed here, on the west side of the street. And yet, it was actually found here, on the opposite side of the road, in the victim's hand. Meanwhile, according to the testimony you've heard, Mrs. Beat's bouquet should have been dropped here at the scene of the crime, on the east side of the street. But in fact, it was actually found here, on the opposite side of the road, in front of Mr. and Mrs. Garridab's house. There's no logical explanation for those things, unless somebody deliberately moved them. What are you trying to say? The way you're talking, it sounds like you think my Rolly's done something wrong. He has, ma'am. Evidence tampering is a serious crime. Don't you listen to a word that scrawny lawyer says. Wittering on about books and bouquets, why should we care? It's nitpicking, that's what it is. Oh, good. Mrs. Garridab's come round. You might call it nitpicking, Mrs. Garrett, but deliberately meddling with the scene of a crime is a criminal offense. It's called, tampering, Mr. Naruhodo. But the person responsible for this tampering cannot admit to it, for a very subtle, compelling reason.
Objection!
Tampering. You've barely heard the term before. Tell us, my learned friend. Who would possibly have caused to carry out such an elaborate deception? Yes, there is someone who tampered at the scene of the crime that is said in that evening. All the evidence and all the testimony points to one particular person.
This is merely associated with conjecture. This is possible tampering at the scene of the crime.
Take that!
Obviously. There's only one person it could have been. Constable Rolly Beat, it was you!
What? The policeman? Remember Scotland Yard?
What nonsense! Why would Rolly do something like that? There's no one straighter than my husband. Nobody works more tirelessly for the people of London. Mrs. Beat, you said it in your testimony that your husband asked you to go to a nearby police box to fetch the officer on duty. The 15 minutes that you were absent from the scene is the only opportunity anyone had to tamper with it. You're making it up! It's all nonsense! It's all lies! What about the Japanese man with the whiskers? I bet it was him. He did it.
Objection!
If that was true, Constable B would have seen him do it. Oh. And forgive me for pointing it out, but when you dropped your bouquet, Mrs. B, it was after the defendant had fled the scene. Well...
Objection!
First you make accusations about the landlord and his wife, and now you incriminate a policeman as well. But your accusations lack one very important thing. You claim that the crime scene was tampered. But there is only one reason anyone will commit such a reckless crime, to hide something. That's right, he's right. But my husband and I just happened to be there, that's all. So why would we have anything to hide? It doesn't make sense. You've offered no motive for this alleged tampering. And until you do, your accusations are nothing but empty threats. Constable Beat had a very good reason for wanting to tamper at the scene of the crime. That's the key to this entire affair. Mr. Naruhodo, have you managed to solve this mystery? Yes, my lord. Constable Beat's motive for tampering at the crime scene was to hide where the victim fell. Where the victim fell to the ground. That is what this Bobby had to cover up at all costs. What? Where the victim fell? You mean where she was attacked? What are you talking about? We told you at the very start, didn't we? On the pavement of Briar Road. We saw it happen, remember? It was right here, as if anyone didn't already know. That's certainly what everyone has been led to believe. But in fact, that isn't where the victim was stabbed at all. What? What? If that's your assertion, then the court is dying to know, my Nipponi's friend. Where are you proposing that the crime actually took place that evening?
Take that!
On the opposite side of the road. I don't understand. On the evening in question, Mr. Garrett book fell directly down from the open window above, and your bouquet, Mrs. Speed, never moved at all. What did move was the scene of the crime itself.
Good gracious!
Objection!
It's funny, the snow I don't think had anything to do with it in the end, but I was right for the wrong reasons, I guess. The body was moved. Perhaps you haven't been listening to the ample testimony just caught his hurt. But these witnesses both saw the moment the attack took place. That's right, I saw it with my own eyes. It was 5 o'clock in the evening and already dark. There was a typical London fog in the ground. When you saw the incident unfold and ran to the victim's aid, that was actually on the west side of Briar Road. No, that's not true. It can't have been. Constable Beat then arranged for you to be absent for a while by sending you for help. And during the 15 minutes you were away, he transplanted this crime scene. He moved all the things shown in this print. The victim herself, the 4 books. He moved everything, in fact, to the pavement on the east side of Briar Road. Sure. But the constable overlooked one thing. What? What did he overlook? The bouquet I received. Exactly. The prosecution told the court just a few minutes ago about the discovery of the rose bouquet. Lord Van Zeek said it wasn't noticed until the morning as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. Which is why it was only the bouquet that was found in its original position, on the pavement on the west side of Briar Road. And that is the defense's theory about what really happened that evening. How do you respond? Constable Rolly Beat. Very sorry. I didn't mean to nod off again, but I haven't slept properly in a month. Did I miss anything important? Oh, Rolly. It isn't true, is it? What that lawyer said is all lies, isn't it? I know it is, because you're the most upstanding, righteous man I know. I had a dream. A terrible dream. All the things I did that night. Everything come out. Everything exposed. Only, it seems, it wasn't a dream at all. Girlie! Order! I wish the meaning of all this. Oh, Rolly, why? Why would you do something like this? Moving a corpse is a criminal offense, isn't it? Wishing the victim dead should be one too. A corpse, yeah. We all just don't question it because it's Ace Attorney. It's always a corpse. I can't say, sir. What? I really am ever so sorry about all this. For damaging the Yard's reputation. For everything. I have a possible explanation. For why, on that particular evening, Constable Beat felt compelled to move the scene of the crime. I can't think of one reason. What? How could you possibly know? You, a foreigner, presuming to understand the mind of a Scotland Yard policeman. Uncovered the startling truth of the matter thus far. I really will be beneficial to the court to hear this extraordinary young lawyer's theory. Also, the defense, here, please. Yes, my lord. Now then, I think I better show some evidence. At once, my lord. England, Japan. It makes no difference where you come from. Human emotions are the same. And I think I have a fairly good idea of the feelings behind this man's actions. Thank you, sir. The water because there may be unthinkable actions.
Take that!
It's this piece of evidence here, you see?
It's hard to say that I don't, Counsel.
No, it's not the... It's this beat, you know?
Objection!
What I would like to know, my learned friend, is the motive for your unthinkable actions. By which I mean that abysmal response. Oops. Alright. Maybe I was too unthinking. No, I guess it was just a 50-50. It's another 50-50 evidence mix-up. You have to admit, that was a pretty good get. That seemed like it would have been it, right? But okay, they won the rose. They won the rose, not the where the crime scene took place. I guess I should have taken the hint because they highlighted the feelings.
Take that!
They meant the rose. Alright, fine. I realize that I'm a foreigner in this land, and I have only just arrived from Japan. Which is why all this information about London's so-called bobbies is completely new to me. I've learnt that, though honorable, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world, for example.
Looking after the citizens being all kinds of police. There's no doubt that the young warrior is charged with a great deal to do each day, certainly.
But for Constable Beat, the day in question was special.
Special? Oh.
On account of this bouquet, my lord.
Oh yes, it was our very first wedding anniversary.
Constable Beat had worked so hard to be able to afford this simple gift for his wife, and was so looking forward to taking her out for a celebratory meal. And he and Mrs. Beat stumbled upon a crime along Briar Road. When he saw that shadowy figure through the fog collapse on the pavement ahead of him, what must have gone through the man's mind?
That's just on that particular day I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. There's just be put up with a lot of being married to a bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care.
This is the warrant card that Constable Beat offered to lend to me earlier. Inside, among the rules patrolling policemen, it says, when a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations to help detectives. Constable Beat. Is that or is that not the reason why you moved the whole scene of the crime that day?
Yes.
Everything you said, it's alright. So that's it. It was all to do with the boundary of your beat.
Oh!
Exactly. To summarize, the incident actually occurred on Constable Beat's beat.
Oh, gracious! Usher! You little Grody, what have you done?
It was the first time since I became a copper that I've ever cursed God. Stay close to me, Pat. The criminal could still be lurking somewhere. As we ran over to the scene, I had every intention of doing my duty as a police officer. I've got to report this to the station as quickly as possible. But then it dawned on me. I realized where we were, where the victim was lying, and what that meant for me. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations to help detectives. Why here? Why did this have to happen here? And why tonight, of all nights? Why? It's a copper's job to guard the scene of the crime, so I told Pat she'd have to go to the nearest police box and fetch whoever was on duty there. It was then, when I opened my mouth to speak, it just came out. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my own mouth. This is the next beat to mine, Pat, so you have to go to the police box that covers it. Turn right along Meersham Street and then... The man just wanted his day off. Well, I can say understandable, but also evidence tampering is a serious crime, dude. I'm sorry. So sorry. Oh, Constable. I just wanted, just that one night, to take my Patricia out for dinner. Oh, Rolly, just that one night. You knew that if the incident was on your beat, your evening of celebration would be ruined, and so you decided to move the entire crime scene outside your jurisdiction, just across the street, to the east pavement of Briar Road, which falls under the neighboring beat's care. You see, I thought, well, I was sure the victim was dead, you see.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, of course he did. Otherwise my Rolly would never have left the poor woman on the freezing cold pavement.
I see what you mean, though.
But God got me back from my sins, didn't he? That's why I missed the rose I bought for Pat.
Oh no, Rolly, that was all my fault. I should never have dropped in such a dark place. I'm so sorry, Rolly.
And can you tell us, Constable, how many books did you move from the one side of the road to the other in total? Huh? Oh, 4 it was. Yes, sir, definitely 4. 3 of them dropped by Mr. Natsume, and the 4th being the one that fell from the window upstairs in the Gerda household, of course. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand? When all the others were scattered haphazardly around, I mean. Oh, well, sir, that's because that's how I found it. How you found it? What do you mean? When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So, when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand. You sure it was this book, The Lion's Pride, that the victim was holding? Oh yes, sir. No doubt about it, sir. Interesting. I thought it was an open and shut case at the time, you see. There were only the 2 people at the scene, and Pat and me both saw it happen. However which way you looked at it, it had to be the fellow who ran off who'd done it, I thought. I couldn't see the harm, really. I didn't think moving it all over the road would make a jot of difference. I suppose this is it for me now. I've had it. My lord.
Yes, Lord Benedict.
I believe that concludes the cross-examination of the witnesses. Constable, you may withdraw.
Yes, sir. Mr. Prosecutor, sir. What will become of my Roly? What will happen to him?
For now, you are free to go home. The police will contact you in due course.
Please, don't punish my husband. This was all my fault. It's because I'm always moaning at him for coming home late.
This entire case is about marital dispute. Leave it now, Pat. Let's go home. I'm tired.
Alright then, my love.
One last thing, Constable. Sir? Let this be a lesson to you. In a criminal investigation, every detail matters, however insignificant it may seem to you.
Yes, sir.
Carve that lesson in your mind. And never again make the mistake of tampering with the scene of a crime.
Huh? Never again, sir. You mean to say...
Leave, now. This trial is not yet over.
Sir!
Indeed, my lord. Nevertheless, there are some immutable facts, principally that the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume, is the only person who could possibly have committed this crime.
Objection!
No, I disagree. Now that we know the true scene of the incident, there is someone else. Another person who could be responsible for the knife in the victim's back.
Forgive me for being presumptuous,
but I believe the prosecution is probably well aware of this possibility already.
Are you sure?
Very well. Name the person if you will, and if further investigation is warranted. The prosecution has no objections to the trial continuing.
And the person who perpetrated the crime.
Wow, okay. So I guess we really are dragging her down into the... Okay.
Take that!
From the jury box into the witness stand, somehow. Kangaroo court. The defense would once again like to request a cross-examination of a new witness, my lord.
That's so good.
My assistant made the same request earlier. In order to finally reveal the truth about this case. It's imperative that we cross-examine juror number 4, Mrs. Joan Garrideb.
Me? Oh dearie me.
Objection!
That request has already been denied.
Objection!
But the situation is very different now. Mrs. Garrideb, answer me this.
What do you want now, you little toad?
At the time of the incident, you were engaged in a violent argument with your husband, Mr. John Garrideb. In the course of the argument, a minor house fire was ignited, and to clear the smoke from the room, your husband opened a window that looks out over Briar Road. Well, what's of it? You threw this book at your husband when he was cornered with his back against the window. Upon striking the pane of the open top-hinge casement window, the book plummeted directly down, finding its way to what we now know to be the true scene of the incident. Yes, and as I said, what of it? During the argument, you were beside yourself with rage. As such, you threw not just books, but anything you could lay your hands on. So, let me ask you one more time, Mrs. Garrett. This knife, the one removed from the victim's back. Have you really never laid eyes on it before? Ah. I don't recall it. Seriously? Am I supposed to remember everything I picked up and threw at my husband? And anyway, the man over there in all their regalia said members of the jury needn't testify, didn't he? Conveniently, yes.
Objection!
No, I have no recollection of saying that at all. Juror number 4. Oh! Make no mistake. You jurors are not special in any way. You are not immune to the judicial process. If you know something about this knife, madame, let the truth come out. But that's just a common old garden knife. It could have come from anywhere. We have several like that at home. If one went missing, how would you expect me to know? What's that? Are you joking? Now you listen to me. I refuse to believe all this nonsense. I couldn't bear the thought that I'd injured someone. Do you hear? I couldn't bear it. Oh, the poor woman. So, yes, I want evidence. I want to see hard evidence if you're going to insist on this being my fault. You're going to have to prove it to me that I threw the knife if that's what you think. Come along now, chop chop. Do your worst. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, if I had evidence like that, believe me, I would have thrown it at her already. Then take the stand, juror. Oh! The prosecution does not object to the defense's request to cross-examine this woman. Thank you, Lord Van Zeeks. I'm going to have to testify. Number 4. When the testimony can't lead to the most extraordinary truth thing on earth. Oh, dearie me. So the only food on the daughter of testimony, Mrs. Gerda. And mark my words, in this court of law today, the shall accept the truth. Do you concur, counsels? Certainly, my lord. Oh, that's what I'm hoping for, my lord. Yeah, this is definitely a heck of a case. From the jury box into the witness box. This is such a strange feeling. For the first time since arriving in this country, it actually feels real. I'm here, in the Old Bailey, and I'm a lawyer. Yeah. I mean, he's doing what a prosecutor is supposed to do, you know. If the guilty party isn't guilty, then pursue someone else, you know. Witness, state your name and occupation. Oh, yes. My name is Joan Garridap. And, well... I'm a juror, and such like. Sounds like even she doesn't know if she's a housewife or a maid or what anymore. Is she still going to be voting though, or are we just going to have a 5-jury vote? This is highly unconstitutional. Yes, my lord. You will tell the court everything that took place in your house on the evening in question. And I warn you, do not attempt to hide the truth. Oh, dearie me. Chin up, Joni. Nothing to worry about now. Ah. Oh, I didn't know you were here, John. It wasn't only you in the room that day, old thing, was it? But I think I ought to testify as well, don't you? But what about your knee, dear? Don't you worry about that. Hardly notice it. I'm not the sort of chap to leave a comrade to face disciplinary action alone. Oh, John. Yes, sir. former second lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment of the 4th Northumberland Fusiliers, sir. See my fair share of action and now living the quiet life, as it were. Quiet life? Were you not engaged in an incendiary battle with your spouse on the day in question? Well, yes. Ahem, quite. I believe these may represent a first in the proud history of the British court. Calling a jury to the witness stand is unprecedented. However, the court will hear your testimony now during number 4, and that of your husband. You will recount clearly and concisely the events in your home at the time of the incident in question. Sir, at once. No, this is still highly irregular. We have a juror that's in the witness stand. This doesn't solve the problem that I brought up, you know, the whole recusing thing. It's his attorney. Let's move on. Yes, on the day you're referring to, the wife and I did have a bit of a skirmish. Can't recall the reason now. Knocked the candlestick over and set fire to the carpet. Soon headed out though, and got the window open. Meanwhile, I was picking up whatever I could find to throw at him. Plenty of knives around our place. Can't say I noticed that 1 or 2 went missing on the place. If that bally thing in the victim's back really was one of ours, you have a job proving it, I think.
Saturday was quite a bit of a house that evening.
Although an entirely one-sided assault, it seems. The enemy caught us on the hook, sir. Had no choice but to dig in and take defensive measures. To be honest, if the enemy had kept shelling us for another minute, we'd have been toast. Of course, a veteran such as myself is only too aware that on every battlefield, you're just an risk of death at any moment. Are we still talking about a marital quarrel here?
Well, I must say I'm dubious that this testimony was said any night in the origins of this jackknife.
In combat, one's focus narrows such that the surroundings are barely noticed. These witnesses may not be able to offer anything more than they have testified already. This may be a dead end. And Zeeks may well be right. Well, whatever the chances, you only have this last cross-examination to uncover the truth, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, I'm afraid so. Very well.
Well,
Oh, I'm mixing up the voices.
cross-examination.
Now to press everything again.
Hold it!
The reason is what you told us yesterday, I believe.
Yes, that's right.
If I remember correctly, it all started because of a note that was tucked into the pages of a book belonging to Mr. Garrida. A rather passionate note, in fact. When Mrs. Garrida found the note, discovering her husband's little secret. And she gave him a mighty number of slaps across the face for it, too.
What a sort of state of affairs.
Hell on earth. I say, what a chap says he can't recall such things. It's common decency not to drag it all up. And besides, half of it was the wide of the mark anyway. A likely story. These waters run very deep.
I was inspired next to these multiple blows to the face.
Hold it!
And the fire also spread to some items of furniture, didn't it? The bookcase, my armchair, anything of mine, really. Just so happens there was some bathwater around that evening, so I sloshed that about to put it out.
A most precarious situation to put yourself in.
Ours is a 3-story townhouse on the west side of the street, where the water main isn't connected with it. Have to draw water from the public water pump during day if you need any, you see. The lodgers are always moaning that they can't get any water at night. Although, that little mustache Japanese man buys water in bottles, I believe. The defendant, Mr. Natsume, you mean? Yes, he receives a stipend for his studies, you know, from his home country. Can you imagine being able to brew a pot of tea at all hours? He's obviously very well off. Have you actually seen the state of the man? I believe he uses all his income to buy books. Well, anyway, the point is, I was able to douse the fire with water, fortunately enough.
Hold it!
Even though the room was on fire. As far as I was concerned at the time, it was more important to extinguish my anger than the flames. When a woman wants to throw, she must throw. That is most certainly not true of the subtle takedown, Mr. Naruhodo. How did she know I was thinking that? So, please cast your mind back and try to remember. Was a knife among the items that you threw at your husband that day? In all honesty, I don't recall. But I feel I must point out that I'm no monster. Let me see. Some bread, a cabbage, garlic, a towel, and a sponge, a napkin.
Excuse me.
He remembered? Do you have something to add, sir? Mr. Garrett. Don't shoot. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind? Nothing of any significance, no. Just that the barrage of projectiles the old thing launched in my direction was somewhat more solid than she implies. Books, bricks, and the fire poker, I seem to recall. Ouch. And the woman's aim is uncanny. She landed a direct hit of every volley. Ah! Good grief, woman. We're not at home now. This is a court of law. Oh, dearie me. Ever so sorry, dear. What's she even doing with a teapot in here? Honestly, John, I would never have thrown such things at you, obviously. Well, take a look at this then. How do you suppose that happened, Your pipe, sir. Had this thing in my hand as usual at the time of the onslaught. Not to clean out with one of her soft projectiles, she did. Yes. And when I went to pick up the thing up, it was broken in two. I like to see a sponge do that sort of damage. I see. Your pipe was broken. It would never have been sent flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Anyway, I've managed to bandage the thing up for now. You all want to exaggerate, aren't you, dear? I wonder what we should make of this account. It's important. The defense believes Mr. Gerdup's remarks just now to be of great significance.
Objection!
This war veteran's words only tell us one thing. Betray a fiery wife, and pipes, as well as hearts, may be broken. Sentimental wisdom, perhaps, but hardly worthy of adding to the formal testimony. Might one? In that case, would you at least permit us to examine the pipe, sir? Well, I don't see why not. Oh, dearie me. There you go again, trying to ingratiate yourself with a young lady. Evidence. Alright. We're gonna look for traces of the knife in there. I hope you didn't speak out of turn, Miss Naruhodo. I was just feeling rather disappointed for you that your request was turned down. Oh no, it's fine. Thanks to Susato-san, we have some new evidence to work with. We should examine it carefully. Yep. One last piece of evidence. If we take the tape off. Or... oh no, there it is! Oh, something just twinkled inside the chamber of the pipe there. Yes, I saw it. He's been smoking that thing with a piece of metal in there the whole time? That's silly. Something stuck in there, I think. Let's turn it over and give it a shake. What's this? It's a tiny fragment of metal. It looks like the tip of a blade or something. The tip of a blade? Surely, it couldn't be. You don't mean... she was stabbed with a blunt knife? How did it even penetrate? Well, I guess a blunt knife could still penetrate. It's still sharp along some of it, but... there we go, now we can identify it. Oh, look here, Mr. Naruhodo, just at the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing. Wait, part of it's missing? I could be wrong, but I've just got a feeling. You remember this? Ah, that's the tiny fragment of metal that we found inside Mr. Gerdup's pipe. Yes, and just maybe... oh my, it's a perfect fit. Somehow, I just knew it. We have the evidence. Looking for that. What's wrong, Mr. Gerdup? Now we can return to the crux of the matter. How can you tell the coder with a knife used to attack the victim? Okay, I know there's one or two I'm missing, I'm afraid. The volley thing in the victim's back really was one of ours. We have a job proving it, I think. Presenting!
Objection!
Mr. Gerdup, could I ask you to take a good look at this, please? You can ask, but I can't see a bally thing. You can't? He used to call me Dead-Eye Deb back in the regiment, of course. But it was some time ago now. Even when I'm trying to enjoy a large print book by the fire these days. I struggle to tell a B from a D and a P from a Q, to be honest. Oh, he does. Deary me, it's rather worrying being asked about every other letter and every other word. He must D very doesy. What is that? A tiny scrap of metal. Yes, almost certainly from the tip of a blade. And what may appear at first to be just a tiny scrap is in fact a crucial piece of evidence. Interesting. And where did the defense come by this evidence? It was lodged into the chamber of Mr. Garrett's pipe. My pipe, you say? By Jove, I wonder how that got there. I am. What? When put together with another piece of evidence, already in the court record, I believe this tiny fragment of metal will unravel the whole truth of this case, my lord. This is the knife that was found in the victim's back. If you look closely, you will see that there is a small piece at the tip of the blade that is missing. A common issue of the inferior blades sold at unsavory street markets. Criminals who use them regularly leave the tips lodged in their victims' bones. This particular knife. No doubt its tip has suffered a similar fate, now languishing somewhere near the spine of the victim.
Objection!
No, that's not the case. The tip of this particular knife's blade is the very fragment of metal we discovered in the chamber of Mr. Garrett's pipe. Oh. Oh. Over this. I don't believe it. The knife from the crime scene and this fragment of metal are a perfect match. Golly goats! I just realized his pants are burned. You can see his underpants. This is no magic, my lord. This is a miracle. A miracle? So Van Zieks has figured it out, has he? Yes, my lord. The crucial point we have to ask ourselves here is, when did the fragment of metal find its way inside Mr. Garrett's pipe? Something that was clear to us in most recent witness testimony. I had this thing in my hand as usual at the time of the onslaught. Knocked it clean out of one of her soft projectiles she did. Yes, it would have never been sent flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Oh, dearie me. During the argument between these two that occurred just as the victim was on the pavement below, Mrs. Garrett flung this knife at her husband. However, the knife missed Mr. Garrett, instead striking the pipe in his hand at the time, which caused the tip to break off, of course. Good lord! Yes, and that is when the tiny tip of the blade found its way inside Mr. Garrett's pipe. The chances of that are 1,000,000 to 1, really are. And yet there's no other credible explanation for how the tip of the blade ended up in your pipe. Then, after losing its tip, the knife ricocheted off the pipe and flew out of the open window. Ah. In short, this knife, which fell from the window of the Garrett's house, is the very same knife that struck the victim, in the middle of the back on the street below. Oh gosh, oh dear, oh. No! She's on a box. I'm noticing more and more details every time they pull back out. Hey, he actually drank from it. Alright, he has been drinking from it. A full-bodied theory, I'll give you that. A complex bouquet of seemingly trivial points plausibly arranged to create an almost possible vintage. Allow me to toast my learned friends, characteristically Nipponese approach to bottling his argument. Sorry? But after all, it's just theory. The bottle, I fear, is corked. Because you see, it's spoiled by an insurmountable inconsistency. An insurmountable... What?! An inconsistency of the simplest nature, my lord. The victim was found with the knife planted in the middle of her back. Yes, in her... Ah! That's right! You silly little man! Now, Joe, no thing. What are you getting so excited about? Let us consider the basic facts of the case once more. The victim was walking along the pavement before being stabbed in the back and falling to the ground. If the knife that had struck her had fallen from above, there's no possible way it could have planted itself into the victim's back. Really? It's very possible. You're talking as if though the only place the knife could have hit her is like on the head. Like, really? This isn't that like... Okay, I get what you're going for here, you know, but I actually, realistically speaking, it's very possible for a knife to end in your back anyway, you know, so it doesn't matter. Even if you're talking about it falling straight down. Quite right, you see, that's exactly right. If the knife had fallen on her from above, it would have struck her on the top of her head. Yeah, sure. Well, you can just say, she was slouching. Duh. He's lost for words, look. I knew it. I never liked this theory in the first place. I don't know, though, what really did happen. The theory has even one inconsistency. It cannot stand. The theory, my learned friend, is history. We were so close. I could see the truth. I was so sure we were on the right track. But now the way has been blocked completely. By just one simple inconsistency. Or in other words, we simply need to eliminate that one inconsistency and the theory will stand. Miss Usato. You mustn't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. You were just caught off guard, that's all. And your mind went blank. But if the path you were on is indeed correct, then a way will present itself. The key to this is in the court record, I'm sure. All the information you need is there. It seems you have nothing to say, my Nipponese friend. Well, your silence speaks volumes. A tacit acceptance of your theory is fatally flawed.
Objection!
I have evidence! This inconsistency doesn't mean I was on the wrong track. It means that I need to sharpen my mind and dig deeper for the truth. It's a test. Yes. If the knife fell on the victim from above, there's no way that it could have hit her in the middle of her back. Under normal circumstances, that is. What are you implying? Counsel? There is a piece of evidence in the court record that can explain this inconsistency. That can explain how the knife that fell from above could have pierced the victim's back. We already have the answer. Goodness! Utter madness!
This is the last time. Not sure. Sure that never really speak.
This is the last inconsistency, the final piece in the puzzle. If I can successfully make sense of this, the truth will be laid bare at last. The evidence that explains how the falling knife became lodged in the victim's back is... Alright, actually... She was bending down to look at the book. That's what he wanted. This, the fourth book found at the scene. This is the final piece of evidence the defense will present. The burnt book.
Is there no reason to do this book?
Yes, and to understand its significance, we have to consider how it came to be at the scene in the first place. This photographic print clearly shows the book in question, and the victim holding it in her hand. But as we all now know, it was the police constable that put the book between her fingers like that.
So, it's what the resource just for the crash to the opposite side of the road.
That's true. However, as part of his testimony, Constable Bede made an extremely enlightening statement on that point. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand?
Oh well, sir, that's because that's how I found it. When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So, when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand.
In other words, the victim had already picked the book up of her own volition. And clearly, that must have been before she suffered the knife wound.
Oh, I should say so. I don't really talk of a knife, but don't imagine she'd been doing much of anything.
So the question becomes, why did the victim have that book in her hand? By Jingo! I think I'm beginning to see what may have happened now.
Oh, dearie me.
We know that the book fell from the top floor of the Garrett household onto the pavement below, at precisely the moment that the victim was walking past. Yes, exactly that moment. The young woman was walking along the street in the light fog, when all of a sudden, a book fell right in front of her. The book I drew. Yes, Mrs. Garrett, and what do you think the woman did? What would you do if you were walking along and suddenly a book landed in front of you on the pavement?
Well, I really can't imagine it, but I suppose she might have reached down and picked the book up.
Yes, that is exactly what the woman in fact did. She picked up the book.
Oh heavens!
And when the woman reached down to pick the fallen book up, what position would her back have been in? That's right, facing the sky, completely and utterly defenseless. Then, in the very next moment, while the woman was still bent over picking up the book... How silly. The next object fell from the room above, the jackknife, straight into the middle of her back. And at the same time, walking by chance directly behind Mrs. Green, was the defendant, Mrs. Soseki Natsume. Chat. Can a falling knife impart enough force to stab somebody if, like, dropped from a high height? Like, this is a third floor, right? Would it be traveling fast enough to, like, cause heavy injury? I wonder. Like, I mean, I can imagine it actually causing injury, yeah, but, like, it would be would it be, like, similar to, like, an actual stab wound with somebody plunging the knife down? Or would it be more of, like, a rough, jagged wound from it falling? Yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious about the medical accuracy about this part of it. It appeared to Mr. Natsume that the woman simply collapsed on the floor. In the dark and the fog, he didn't see the knife falling on her from above. Ah! From the other direction, the constable and his wife saw no one but the victim and her apparent attacker.
There never was a recovery from the scene in the first place.
No, this was nothing more than a series of unlikely events that culminated in an unfortunate accident. And that is the real truth behind this case. Yeah, exactly. The overcoder probably deflected it a little bit. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Garrett,
the very first time you showed me that knife, I had my suspicions. I wondered if perhaps it might have been something like that.
There, old bean.
Poor Mrs. Garrett. Of course, I never meant for anything of the sort to happen, but it was all my fault, wasn't it? I take full responsibility. I let my anger get the better of me. I threw that book. And I threw the knife as well. John, dear. It's alright, I know. I'm ever so sorry. Truly. I'm sorry! Faints. Oh no, his bad leg! Poor guy. What a silly case. What is this? The news of Mrs. Gerda? She's been taken to the infirmary. It would appear that today's events have left her in an especially flustered state. However, I believe she will recover in due course. There is no cause for concern. His son, we lost themselves, of course, what could have easily been a terrible tragedy. It's hard to prepare themselves for the consequences of their actions. There is some good news, however, my lord. I have just word from the hospital where the victim is being treated. Her condition is improving steadily, and the doctor believes she will regain consciousness soon. It's strange. We've been talking about the victim all this time, but we've never once met her. How wonderful. The woman is out of danger, it seems. Yes, that is good news. So I guess this ultimately would be this is a case of negligence. Deadly negligence. What was the term for it? So it's unintentional. Yeah, It's deadly negligence. Yeah, I guess. So, which is luckily not that bad a charge. I mean, it's still a charge that comes with like fines and stuff, but like potentially first time offender too, you'll probably get let off the hook with a fine and probation, and like pay for damages. You know. So hey, probably one of the happier endings for an Ace Attorney case. So this is all second up to me. Yes. On behalf of my fellow countrymen, I would like to take this opportunity to beg your pardon, sir. For your destination homeland to study your great British culture. And I've been repaid of immeasurable unkindness. Please to say our heartfelt apologies. Oh, we'll get a sequel case, huh? Alright, cool. It is me who should be begging your pardon. Oh no, Miss Natsumi. That evening, when the young woman just collapsed on the pavement before my eyes, I jumped to the wrong conclusion again, in my confusion. What conclusion, sir? I was sure that the woman was dead. Yes, Constable Beat said the same thing, didn't he? He thought she had been killed too. I suppose she must have looked completely lifeless. It's been about a year since I arrived in Great Britain now, but I still can't get used to life here. I can't relax. I'm sure there are evil spirits lurking in the fog, like they're haunting me. Poor Soseki-san. His imagination really has gotten the better of him. Yes, poor man. So when it happened, I thought the young woman had been taken by the fog spirits. I should never have dropped my books like that and run away. I should have called for help, for a doctor, for the police. Instead, I've managed to create a rift in the relationship of trust between our two empires. And for that, I am truly sorry. How could it say as out of a serious spirit has been work here, drink? And the created chain of emotional mishap. We will be fooled with the spirit and let the false conclusions. The next over drinks and our young lawyer here from the east. That chain has now been broken in the spirit exercise. Sneaky little reference, huh? And how do I command you both? Oh. Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Yes, my lord. In concluding this trial, I must ask one last time for a decision regarding the defendant's culpability. Are you ready to present your findings to the court? As the foreman of this jury, I can assure you we'll reach a fair and just conclusion. I do declare, the truth can be extremely cruel at times. Well, I didn't suspect the woman next to me, that's for sure. Sitting in for the old bean while she's out of action, you know. But I know what her decision would be. Does this mean I'll finally be able to get out of here and start work? Well, it's about time! I say, I'll have a corker of a story to tell the grandchildren when I get home, won't I? The fun decisions. Mr. Foreman!
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Also, the most tainted jury pool in all of AA history. So far. We might get a more tainted jury as we go along. I don't even know. Not guilty! Hooray! Confetti! Confetti for everyone! Fireworks! Fireworks! Oh yes! We're gonna set fire in the courthouse again. After we burned. After someone else died by fire. Oh, yes, Lord, sir. You know, free men once more. It is my hope that you will continue to further your education in British culture. And may you never again be brought before me. Oh yes, sir. Of course. On my life. I swear I will never set foot in the courtroom again. He's going to set foot in the courtroom again, isn't he? Let's put it 2 tears. He's 100% setting foot into a courthouse again. Come on. Whew. What a case. What a twist. Oh, Locum. Wait, you mean me? Of course! Is there another Locum in here? Is there even one? Compared to the original Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, your name has become rather short, hasn't it? What's wrong with using my actual name? Oh, at last! I'm free! I'm free! Joyful, joyous, jubilant, jubilation! Happy, hearty, happiness, hurrah! Oh, I am pleased. Mr. Natsume is delighted. Would it be so hard just to say that, then? Locum, you did it! You saved me from the brink! Well, what happened to the poor woman was in no way your fault, after all. I'm just glad everyone can see that now. No, not that! Lovely, loyal, Locum lawyer! Yes? I mean, as I said before, I have just never gotten used to life here in Great Britain. Every time I look over my shoulder, I see foreigners. I see towering brick buildings. And from high up windows, I see them looking down on me, laughing. Look at the little hunchback. Oh dear, I'm sure it's all in your head, Mr. Natsume. But today, you, Locum lawyer, gave my gloom the boot. You stood firm behind that baronial bench before all those babbling British. You battled to the bitter end, laying bare the baffling truth. And when I beheld the blinding fireworks among the beams of the Bailey's roof, I bellowed, "Behold the best barrister ever born!" Well, that's very flattering, and we're very pleased for you. This has given me a wonderful anecdote to recount to my old friends back in Japan. An anecdote? Is that what's to become of all my hard work? There you are, my dear Oh, it's Herlock. Oh, there you are, my dear fellows. I apologize for keeping you waiting. I rose late this morning. Oh, Mr. Sholmes! What a pleasure to see you. I see I am here not a moment too soon. A disaster has been averted, I'm glad to say. Oh. The trial shall begin presently, Mr. Naruhodo, and I wish you the very best of luck. It's just finished. What? No! Then my haste was in vain! Ah! It's you! Herlock Sholmes! Oh? Have we met, sir? This is Mr. Natsume, the man you had arrested, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, I see. I failed to recognize you at first. Our previous encounters have taken place in the gloom, either of your bleak lodgings or that prison cell. I simply couldn't place the curious face. In the light. Charming. This is all your fault, Herlock Sholmes! You're the reason I had to go through this terrible ordeal. I'm going to give you a piece of my mind. My apologies, sir, but I assure you, I have placed you now. You're the fellow who abandoned the poor young lady and ran off, are you not? Had she been taken to hospital more urgently, I feel perhaps she would have regained consciousness by now. Oh. But it was unavoidable, I'm sure. We are but human, after all. Anyone would have been shaken by such an experience. I do feel very badly about how I behaved. Well, never mind. Now then, what was it that you wanted to say to me, sir? Nothing. Priceless! Oh, I am sorry, really, but... that was quite priceless. Poor Soseki-san. He's getting bullied. Still, on the bright side, you've had an extremely entertaining experience without paying a penny. And it would seem you were not even found guilty. But there is no bright side. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Natsume? Even after this, I'm still cursed by the spirits, and now by the Reaper! Ah, Lord Van Zeeks. I haven't forgotten, you know, what facing that man in court means. Even if you're found not guilty, you're still doomed! It will all be alright, Mr. Natsume. If the Reaper appears trying to make trouble, I will protect you. Hiya! With a perfectly executed Susato takedown. Much as I like being turned on my head, a bit of warning might be nice next time, Miss Susato. So, Mr. Natsume, what do you intend to do now? You mentioned something about recounting your experiences to your friends back in Japan. Yes, I intend to return to my homeland soon. Oh. It has already been a year since I arrived here in Great Britain. I've visited universities, libraries, bookshops. I've been honored with the tutelage of professors. I've learned so much about the wealth of literature here, and the city it has shaped. And I've come to realize that it is my calling to sail home and tell my fellow countrymen about it. That's very touching, Mr. Natsume. Or, in perhaps less veiled terms, you wish to withdraw halfway around the world to escape the terror of the Reaper's curse. That's not it at all! The more I learn of literature, the more the strange feeling claws in my insides. I feel compelled to return to my roots, and attempt to pen a work of my own. Oh, I see. A work of literature by Soseki-san. Could be an interesting read. And what about Miss Susato and yourself, Mr. Naruhodo? Sorry? What about us? Will you return to Japan alongside your mustached compatriot? Why would we? A week has not yet passed since we arrived in London, and only now does it feel as though we have finally found our feet. And you're accommodated in the hotel at present, are you not? That's right, but we need to find lodgings before it bankrupts us. Calculated, we can only afford another 10 nights before our entire budget is exhausted. Well then, you could take my lodgings. Oh, the windowless room. But what it lacks in windows, it more than makes up for with a floor, a ceiling, and walls. Great. And of course, I'll be happy to leave behind the accursed evil spirit. Oh my, an evil spirit. Oh yes. It tries to suffocate you while you sleep. It's an infallible wake-up call. Sounds like he's getting carbon monoxide poisoning in there or something. Well, think about it, if that's alright. Perhaps I can offer a more welcome alternative. Would you consider taking lodgings with me? Really? Well, a vacancy has conveniently presented itself. Though it is up in the attic, I might add. Are you sure it isn't just a storage loft? I spoke with the landlady this very morning on the matter of price, and Iris is cleaning the room as we speak. You must come at once. I presume you have no luggage to speak of. Oh, this is simply wonderful! What an honor to be invited to taking lodgings in the great detective's office. Satic. I'm too overcome for words. So suggesting we look elsewhere is out then. Then it's settled. Iris will prepare a welcome dinner this evening. And you must come too, Mr. Natsume. I insist. Wait. Is the vacancy because John Watson is dead? That's so sad. Why did they kill John Watson? Why did they do it? Oh. Well, John Wilson, but whatever. I don't know what to say, but thank you, and yes! Wonderful. Then I'll go and complete the paperwork for your formal release, Miss Natsume. It shan't take long. What, am I not wrong? Somebody's happy. Locum. I knew you wouldn't let me down. I'm truly delighted to have met you here in London. Likewise, Mr. Natsume. It's been a privilege meeting you too. It's a shame that we're going to have to say goodbye so soon. Well, I've come to realize that I belong in Japan. But Locum, we'll meet again one day. Yes, I'm sure. And hopefully by then, I'll be a successful lawyer. Hopefully by then, I'll be a successful author. Well, my dear fellow, our carriage appears to have arrived. Shall we go, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, Mr. Sholmes. I've little doubt Mr. Natsume will release in time for dinner this evening. And so, with Soseki-san's innocence successfully established, we rode with Mr. Sholmes to what was to become our new home, 221B Baker Street. So this is to be our new office, yes. Our office? I rather like the sound of that. Me too. It's simply wonderful, isn't it? I hope you can see this, Kazuma. It's only a small step. Ladder. That's a ladder. What's the difference? You need to open up to different cultural ways of thinking. But I like to think we're getting a little closer to your dream now. So, my dear fellows, do you like the place? Ah, Mr. Sholmes. Yes, thank you so much. It's a delightful room, Mr. Sholmes. I simply adore it. Good, I'm pleased to hear it. Aris and I are delighted to welcome you. I hope everyone's hungry. It's nearly time for dinner. We'll eat as soon as Mr. Natsume arrives. We'll have a lot to celebrate. Iris, you must let me help you. Alright then, Susie. You can be in charge of the salad. Splendid! So, Mr. Naruhodo, how does it feel? To have your own office in the capital. It's very exciting, actually. I can't help wondering what adventures await us. Those were precisely my sentiments when I first established my office at these premises. Until I discovered the dark truth about the city of London, that is. Sorry? London is a glorious place, full of wonder, opportunity, prosperity, and mirth. But the brightest of lights cast the darkest of shadows. Shadows? What do you mean? Well, I believe you're well aware of the murkiness that lies behind London's facade already. So once again, Mr. Naruhodo. Welcome to London. Is Moriarty in this? I wonder. Of course, at the time, I had no idea of the significance of those words Mr. Sholmes had so casually spoke. But it wasn't long before my turn came to lift the facade and see the true depth of the murk that lay behind it. Dramatic. Hey, that's interesting. I mean, I didn't know exactly what to expect, but yeah, it looks like we're staying at 221B Baker Street. That's a fun thing to do for sure. Okay, whew. What a case. That was a lot of fun, but man, we went on for quite a bit there. I think I'm probably gonna take a break before we hop back into the next case, seeing as it's the finale case, you know, and it's probably gonna be pretty meaty. So I may take a little break before we come back to this game again, but sooner or later we shall return to jolly old London. So yeah, thank you for watching. I will see you guys around very soon. Peace.